In the world of occultism and ritual magic, the focus is often on technique, the right candles, the correct names, the sacred geometry. But beneath all the ceremonial layers, there's a quieter question, a stranger one. Why do demons actually want to be summoned? We often assume it's us doing all the work, us initiating the call, us demanding the presence, us seeking power or answers. But what if there's something deeper going on? What if the entities we call aren't just passive receivers, but eager participants? Today we're going to peel back that question, not just how summoning works, but why it works, or more specifically, why they respond, why they answer. Let's break it down into 5 core theories. Archetypal hunger, living symbols in the mind. One of the most grounded psychological theories is that demons are archetypes, living, evolving symbols that exist in the human collective unconscious. This comes from a Jungian perspective, where the shadow, the trickster, the destroyer are not just stories or characters, but energetic blueprints buried deep in the psyche. And when we summon a demon, we're not pulling something into the world, we're activating something within ourselves. But here's where it gets interesting. In some esoteric traditions, these archetypes are more than passive patterns. They're alive, and like anything alive, they want to grow, they want attention, they want to be remembered, drawn, spoken of. In this view, demons want to be summoned because that's how they stay relevant. That's how they evolve. The more minds they touch, the more they're invoked, the more complex they become. It's a kind of metaphysical survival. Summoning becomes a psychic act of feeding. You're giving shape and strength to something that exists only because you, and others like you, interact with it. In this framework, demons don't hunger for blood. They hunger for belief. Energetic feeding, rituals as power sources. Now let's move from the symbolic to the energetic. Many magical traditions teach that rituals generate energy. When you chant, visualize, focus your intent, when you build a circle, light the candles, perform the gestures, you're not just going through motions. You're producing power, and in this theory, that power is real sustenance for certain non-physical entities. Imagine a world just adjacent to ours, a world made not of matter, but of thought and current. In that world, demons or spirits can sense energy like a shark senses blood in water. The moment you start your ritual, you're sending out a signal, an offering. And what kind of energy are we talking about? Not electricity, something subtler. Emotionally charged energy, fear, lust, awe, willpower, ritualized obsession. Each emotion is a different frequency, and different entities may feed on different vibrations. Some demons might come because they crave the emotional intensity you're generating. Others may be more parasitic, draining the energy you don't even realize you're projecting. But not all feeding is negative. Think of it more like bees to nectar. You provide a source, they arrive, and sometimes, if the terms are right, they leave you with something in return. The ego of spirits, status, recognition, and cosmic rank. Now let's explore a more anthropomorphic idea. Spirits have egos. If you read any of the old grimoires, the Ars Goetia, the Lesser Key of Solomon, or even texts from the Middle Ages, spirits are described with titles: king, duke, president, marquis. They demand to be summoned with specific words under certain conditions with correct offerings. Why? Because some occultists believe spirits maintain their identity, maybe even their power, through ritual recognition. Just like a noble loses prestige if no one remembers their name, a spirit loses resonance if no one works with them. Being summoned validates their identity. It reaffirms their place in the astral hierarchy. It's not always vanity. Sometimes it's about structure, order. If you skip their titles or mispronounce their names, they might punish you. Not because they're angry, but because you broke the contract of respect. In this worldview, demons want to be summoned because it re-establishes their importance. They exist through the relationship. They respond because it reminds them and you who they are. Summoning is a kind of celestial court ceremony. Show respect and you get results. Disrespect, you get chaos. Dimensional bleed-through, when entities need access. Here's a more metaphysical take. Some occultists believe that spirits don't have regular access to our world. They exist in another plane. Call it the astral, the etheric, the void, and they can't manifest here unless we build the structure. Ritual becomes a kind of portal. The tools, the space, the invocations, they don't attract the spirit, they allow it. They create the right conditions for a bleed through. So in this theory, demons want to be summoned not because they're hungry or prideful, but because they literally can't do anything here without a gateway. It's not just that they respond to summoning, it's that summoning is the only way they can cross over, even temporarily. Your voice, your energy, your symbols, they become their anchor. Without ritual, they remain locked behind the veil. With ritual, they get a taste of presence, and perhaps that's what they crave more than anything, presence. Mutual contracts, the give and take of occult exchange. Finally, we arrive at what might be the most grounded and understandable idea of them all, the contract. It's not as dark as Hollywood makes it out to be. There's no dramatic signing in blood, no cackling demon waiting in the shadows with a scroll and a pen. No, this theory is much older, much simpler, and far more human. In this view, summoning a spirit, whether a demon, angel, or other entity, is a transactional act. Not a demand, not a prayer, but a deal. Two parties, two wills, two desires. You, the magician, the seeker, the curious, you have a need. It might be protection from something you can't see. It might be access to hidden knowledge, something outside the grasp of normal understanding. It might be a request for influence, power, clarity, or even just a single sign that someone, something, is listening. And on the other side, there's the spirit. Whatever it is, however you choose to view it, it too has desires. It may want presence in this world. It may want recognition, its name spoken aloud again, its symbol drawn with intention. Or it may seek energy, pure emotional output stirred up through ritual, focus, fear, awe, obsession, or reverence. So when a summoning takes place, both sides bring something to the table. You don't just call on a spirit and hope for the best. You build the space, with symbols, chants, gestures, timing. You focus your will, you open the door, you extend the invitation, and in return, you offer something. It could be something physical, incense, a candle, an offering left at a crossroads, or it could be something more subtle, time, attention, devotion, even an agreement. If you help me, I will honor you. I will speak your name. I will come back to this pact. This is where the old myths of selling your soul come from. The fear that, in exchange for power, you'll lose something precious. But in truth, most real magical systems don't work that way. They're far more structured, more respectful. The spirits don't just take, they bargain. They don't demand blind loyalty. They expect clarity. And when a summoner enters into a ritual with understanding, care, and consent, the result is often something deeper than a one-time deal. It becomes a relationship, sometimes fleeting, sometimes long-term, sometimes it changes your path. Other times, it simply nudges things in a new direction. But the core idea is this: you give something, they give something, and if both sides uphold the agreement, the magic happens. It's not always flashy, it's not always immediate, but something shifts, something unlocks, something answers. Because summoning, in this view, isn't about power over another being. It's about cooperation. It's a mutual pact, a moment of alignment between your world and theirs. And in that moment, something ancient, something intelligent, something aware, meets you halfway. The layers of the call. So, why do demons want to be summoned? The answers aren't simple. They're layered, woven through psychology, symbolism, and the very structure of reality itself. Some say they hunger for attention, not out of malice, but because they are attention, living archetypes that grow stronger every time we speak their names or draw their sigils. Others believe it's energy, pure and simple. Rituals generate power, focused emotion, intense intention, altered states, and all of it becomes food for entities that exist beyond the veil. Then there's the idea that these spirits carry a kind of ego, not in the human sense, but in the cosmic sense, a desire to be recognized, respected, and remembered. Summoning isn't just a call, it's a salute. For some entities, it goes even deeper. They may exist in spaces where they can't act freely. They need us, not to worship them, but to build the doors they walk through. Without us, they remain echoes in the dark. With us, they gain a voice. And finally, some simply want what we want, an exchange, a deal, a mutual pact. We offer attention, energy, access. They offer influence, insight, maybe even intervention. It's not always sinister, sometimes it's just business. So in the end, whether they're reflections of our mind or real forces from beyond, these beings show up not just because we call them, but because they need to be called, and maybe, so do we. If this opened something in your mind, check out the rest of our Ritual and Demonology series. We go even deeper into the history, mechanics, and meaning behind summoning. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, and summon wisely.